Someone gives you advice. Unsolicited advice. Advice you didn't ask for about a problem you didn't present, delivered in a way that makes you feel worse instead of better. And when you don't thank them enthusiastically, they're offended. I was just trying to help. But here's what psychology reveals. Not all advice is actually helpful. Some is criticism disguised as guidance. Some is control disguised as concern. And some is designed to make you feel inadequate while the advice giver feels superior. Psychology has identified 5 specific types of advice that consistently function as criticism, judgment, or dominance while maintaining the appearance of helpfulness. Here are 5 types of advice that are actually criticism first. The unsolicited. Have you tried? This is when someone offers advice you didn't ask for, about a problem you know infinitely more about than they do, as if the obvious solution never occurred to you. Have you tried exercising? To someone with chronic illness? Have you tried just being more confident? To someone with social anxiety? Have you tried budgeting? To someone in poverty? Psychologist Dr. Brené Brown identifies this as armchair problem solving, offering simplistic solutions to complex problems as a way to avoid genuine empathy and connection. Here's what makes this patronizing. The advice assumes you're incompetent. If you have chronic pain and someone suggests, "Have you tried yoga?" they're implying you haven't thought of the most obvious interventions. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion shows that unsolicited advice often comes from discomfort with another's struggle. The advice giver feels uncomfortable witnessing your pain, so they offer a quick fix to relieve their discomfort, not to actually help you. Second, the "if I were you" judgment. This is when someone tells you what they would do in your situation, usually something that demonstrates they have no understanding of your actual constraints, context, or complexity. If I were you, I'd just quit that job. If I were you, I'd cut that person out of my life. If I were you, I'd move to a different city. Psychologist Dr. Harriet Lerner identifies this as advice as superiority display. The person gets to feel decisive and capable by offering solutions without having to deal with any of the real consequences. Here's the pattern. If I were you is always easier because they're not you. They don't have your financial constraints, your family obligations, your mental health challenges, your specific circumstances. Dr. Susan David's research on emotional agility shows that if I were you advice fails because it doesn't account for context. What's possible for someone with resources isn't possible for someone without them. The advice is framed as helpful, but functions as judgment. You should be more decisive, braver, stronger, more willing to take risks. Third, the "you should" command. This isn't advice. It's a directive disguised as a suggestion. You should lose weight. You should go back to school. You should leave your partner. You should have kids. You should be more assertive. Psychologist Dr. Karen Horney called these the tyranny of the shoulds. External demands framed as advice, telling you how to live your life according to someone else's values or standards. Here's what distinguishes this from genuine advice. It contains no question about what you want, need, or value. It's a declaration of what you should do based entirely on the advisor's judgment of what's right. Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's research on nonviolent communication shows that "should" statements are inherently judgmental. They imply you're currently wrong and need to change to meet the speaker's standards. Fourth, the just minimization. This is advice that uses the word "just" to make complex problems sound simple, and you sound incompetent for not having solved them. Just ask for a raise. Just set boundaries. Just leave. Just say no. Just be yourself. Psychologist Dr. David Burns identifies this as minimization of difficulty, making hard things sound easy, which implies the person struggling with them is making them harder than they need to be. Here's the insult hidden in just. The word minimizes complexity and effort. Just set boundaries implies setting boundaries is simple and easy. If you haven't done it, you're either stupid or not trying. Dr. Kristen Neff's research shows that just advice dismisses real obstacles, genuine fear, systemic barriers, and valid complications. It frames your struggle as a simple problem with a simple solution you're too incompetent to execute. Fifth, the you need to prescription. This is when someone diagnoses what's wrong with your life and prescribes the fix with complete confidence and zero qualification. You need to get therapy. You need to exercise more. You need to stop being so negative. You need to get out more. You need to let go of the past. Psychologist Dr. Carl Rogers' research on person-centered therapy shows that prescriptive advice fails because it assumes the advisor knows better than you what you need, which denies your expertise on your own life. Here's what's presumptuous about this. You need to assumes they understand your situation, psychology, resources, and goals better than you do. Dr. Marcia Linehan's work on validation shows that prescriptive advice without understanding creates invalidation. You feel misunderstood and reduced to a problem someone thinks they can fix in one sentence. Here's what psychology is clear about. Real advice is offered, not imposed. It's asked for, not assumed to be wanted. It acknowledges complexity, respects your autonomy, and centers your needs rather than the advisor's ego. Real advice says, would advice be helpful right now? And accepts no. It says, what have you tried? Before suggesting anything. It acknowledges, this sounds really hard before offering solutions. And it respects that you're the expert on your own life. Courage. So, when someone gives you unsolicited advice and you feel worse, trust that feeling. Real advice empowers. Fake advice diminishes. Real advice respects your complexity. Fake advice oversimplifies to make you look incompetent. You don't owe gratitude for